everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out of the Fog. I'm your host, Laurabel. Happy Black History Month. I'm so excited for you to meet our guest today. I get the chance to chat with Jumi Odumosu, who is an HR professional, but also a psychology counseling candidate. I also get the chance to talk to Angelise, who is the founder of the Mile One Run Club and also a YWCA Circle of Distinction nominee. So if you're interested in seeing what these wonderful Black women have been up to, sit back, relax, and we'll get right to the show. Welcome back, everyone. I'm now joined by Jumi Odumosu, who is a psychology and counseling candidate. Jumi, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. Happy Black History Month.
Well, wish you the same.
So I think one of the favorite things about this month for me is highlighting people that I think are cool and innovative and doing things in community that I think are worth sharing. Okay. And you are one of those people.
Oh, thank you.
And so firstly, I guess the first place to start is you are an HR professional originally, and then transitioning into a psychology counseling candidate, which means you'll be working in the mental health space.
That's right.
So for you, what was that transition like? Why was it important from you to go from being an HR professional to now wanting to pursue psychology, counseling, mental health?
Okay, thanks. Good question. First of all, I find that people connect with me naturally. Like, I have the natural ability to connect with people. And it's not uncommon. I meet someone for the first time and they're sharing their deepest concerns. While most of the time I wouldn't know how to help them other than listen and pray, which is very, extremely important as well. But I knew I needed to develop my skills. Then I met someone who was passionate and is still very passionate about the field. She encouraged me to explore the field, so which I did. At that time, she was at Yorkville University. Now she has a practice, and so she actually inspired me to do that. Now I've done 1 year in school, and I'm better prepared to help people, I think. And I feel like, of course, I cannot save the world, but I believe and I'm confident that I can have meaningful impact on people that I meet. Then again, there is so much stigma around mental health, especially amongst African communities. I once read an article, an interesting one at that. The title is, "If you say you have mental health issues, then you are mad." And it just talks about the misconceptions that people have about mental health issues. So I want to create that awareness and let people know that seeking support is not a sign of weakness, and just to create that awareness that if you have mental health issues, you are not mad. So pretty much I'm looking forward to graduating so that I can officially apply all the skills that I've learned and I'm still learning at Yorkville University.
So for you as a Black woman who is practicing in learning and practicing in that space of mental health and advocacy, how have you been able to kind of break some of those preconceived stigmas that we have, especially growing up in an African community and having those ideas that if you do have a mental health issue, whatever it might be, that something is terribly wrong with you? How have you balanced culture with this learning to create a safe space for the people who do show up and say, "Hey, Jumi, I want to talk"?
Right. I think the first thing right now is to create awareness and, just speaking more about it so that people feel more confident to seek help. I recently talked to a group of people and I asked them how many of them will seek therapy, all Africans, and they're like, no. So I think it's very important that even speaking about it and creating awareness will be the starting point so that people know that it's not a sign of weakness.
Okay. I really appreciate that, especially as someone who herself had mental health issues that she was struggling with and then had to go seek therapy. It was always really important for me to have a therapist, a counselor, someone I was talking to who understood the cultural context.
That's right.
Because sometimes you present things to people and the issue that you're actually wanting support is not where they focus because of not having that cultural nuance. So I know that having more people like you who go into that field creates safety for those like me who ever need to reach out for help, knowing that there's someone there for them.
All right. And just like you said, growing up in Nigeria, many people, well, they've been trained to think that showing emotions is a sign of weakness. So many people they grew up just internalizing struggles and just dealing with their issues the way they could. And it's not uncommon when you share your own story with someone, the person can tell you, oh, you think you've had it bad. You need to listen to my story. Of course, they want to encourage you to let you know, well, it's not that bad. But in a way, they tend to minimize what you're going through, and that doesn't actually help the problem. So people just grow up with their own coping mechanisms and not knowing how to deal with them.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we're in the midst of February, which is Black History Month, and something that's very near and dear to me, as anyone who knows me knows. But for you, I would like to know, what does Black History Month mean to you as a Black woman, as a mom? How does it all express itself for you?
So I never gave that a Black History Month a thought until I moved to the West, and I say that it's a big thing. So in the spirit of assimilation, I've come to appreciate Black History Month, and not just to see it as a month-long event, but just to, honor the past of people that have struggled and celebrate their achievement. And not only that, for me, it just let me see, or it's a reminder that I'm a part of a larger story of resilience, of strength, and of empowerment, and that my voice matters too.
That is so cool. And your voice matters in a lot of ways, because not only are you an HR professional, a psychology counseling candidate, you also are the vice president of the Multicultural Women's Organization in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yes.
So how did you find yourself in that space?
Thank you. So the mission of the organization, the mission resonates with me. So the organization, we support immigrant women and newcomer women in Newfoundland and Labrador. So we try our best to support them so that they can integrate better in the society. So we have programs like, cooking programs that come, just mingle, and we do all sorts of things, provide education, information, and all that. But one of the most rewarding roles that I have there is teaching English language. Okay. So I teach this immigrant women language, and I found that it goes beyond the language. It's actually giving them a voice to be able to express their stories. These women have incredible stories, and they want to talk. So just giving them a voice as well.
I think that's really lovely to hear, because communication is the way people get to know each other best way. So if people don't have a means of communicating, it isolates them from the society in which they find themselves in.
Absolutely.
And I think that's super cool.
Absolutely.
So you are a mom, which is one of the coolest titles that I feel a person can have regardless. So as a mom, you get to leave a legacy for people, and especially for your children. So as you look back on your life and the things you've achieved as a mom, as a Black woman who's traveled and experienced the ups and downs of life, what are you hoping that you leave as a legacy for your kids?
The first and the most important to me is the legacy of faith. I'm a Christian, so I want them to know, to give them the faith that after I've gone, they can stand by themselves and have that faith that anchors them in life. So faith in God through Christ Jesus, that's the first thing. Then the second legacy that I want to give them is that they should not let their skin color define them. And, people will tell them, you don't look like us, or you can't be in some spaces, or you don't have the qualifications to do certain things. So my husband and I have always told our children, you don't let all those things define you, because that's not who you are. So they're different. You stand out, you speak up when you need to, be bold, be confident. So that's the kind of legacy that I want to leave with my children.
As someone who happens to know one of your children, I can say you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
In that respect, you have raised, at least for sure, I know at least one wonderful human being.
Thank you very
who makes
much.
a great impact.
Oh, thank you.
And so there are a lot of youth who will probably be watching this, especially as a Black History Month episode. So if you could say one thing to Black youth who might be struggling in finding their place in society based on what society tells them they are capable of versus who they think they are, or if they're struggling with their mental health, because we know the world we live in isn't always so welcoming, regardless of who you are and what your walk in life is, what would you like them to know?
To all the young ones, watching, I want to tell you there is help. You need to speak up. You don't need to struggle alone. I talk to young people a lot, and so many of them internalize their struggles, and they tell me, I don't want my parents to know. But I just want to assure you that there is help out there. You don't need to struggle alone. So seek help. Seek help.
And then, as a parent, for other parents who are raising Black youth in a world that can sometimes be hard for them and who are sometimes battling cultural differences and the place that they are, if you could tell them something in 1 minute to keep parents motivated, what would it be?
Well, I just want to tell parents, be patient. You need to know that you are in another space entirely, especially different from how you grew up. Like my example, I grew up in Nigeria. Things are done differently. The world the kids have right now is quite different. You need to pay attention to those children, listen to them. We don't want to shut them down. We want them to be expressive. So you need to be patient, and you need to know that they are growing up in a different environment, and you need to understand that environment as well.
Jumi, I could spend all day talking to you. You are a wealth of information and such a gentle person to be around.
Oh, thank you. I'm blushing, you can see. Thank you very much.
So I'll see you soon?
Yes, very soon. Thank you.
And we'll be back, everybody.
Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm now joined by Angelise States, who is the founder of the Mile One Running Club and also a YWCA Circle of Distinction nominee. Angelise?
They're here. Thank you for having me. I'm super, super excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I've known that I was gonna have you on this episode for about 6 months now, so I'm really glad that we're finally getting this done. So for those who don't know all the awesomeness that is you, I guess the first place we can start is, first, happy Black History Month.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Secondly, Mile One Running Club, what is that? How did that come to be for you?
Well, thank you for asking. I love talking about my run club. Any excuse to talk about the run club. Year and a half ago, I was training for my second marathon, and it was a fall marathon, which means I had to do a lot of running in the summer, which is notoriously a horrible time to do a lot of running because it gets really warm. A lot of people wait for the summer months to run, but in actual fact, it's like the worst time to start running because it's your body's heating up and temperatures are so high. Anyway, I was doing a lot of running, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I had some of these runs that I have to do, I could do them with other people. I knew that there were a lot of run clubs in big cities like Toronto or London or New York that had free run clubs where people could just come together. They didn't need to sign up, they just showed up, and then once they finished their little run, they went and got a coffee or they went and got a bagel. And I said, that would be so cool in St. John's. So I said, why don't I just start something like this? I think there's loads of fantastic running groups in the city, but I really wanted one that was just low commitment. You can come when you can, it's free. So I just posted on Instagram and had, I think, 15 or 20 people that showed up the first run, and it's just kind of snowballed ever since.
Okay, so how long has the running club been going for now?
We started in July of 2023, so we hit our 1 year last summer, and it was real awesome. We have about 75 people that come every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. when we run. It can range in the winter months, it kind of goes down to like 30 or 40, but it's still such a cool group to get out and run with other people that are like-minded. No one is really an expert at running. We all just kind of run for the vibes. There's so many people that walk during these our little group runs. But yeah, it's been a year and a half, lots of fun events, weekly runs, and then lots of coffee afterward.
Okay. So I like how you said there are people who walk and you do this for the vibes, because in my brain, I'm like, I would love to join you, but girl, I don't run. Like, it's not somewhere I have excelled in yet, but the community I have seen around, especially your run club, seems so much about you show up as you are and you do what you can, and it's great with whatever you do.
Yeah, it's a really low commitment, and there's no expectation. So people have come and they've never run before at all. Like we'll speak to people week to week, and they say, this is the first time I've ever run, or this is the first time I've ever been outside moving my body with other people. And we really try to create a space that is, one, non-judgmental. No one's coming here to have a big race and win. You don't want, if you're going to be the first one at the coffee shop after, you're just going to be bored by yourself waiting for everyone to come. So it's kind of nice to go, if I'm a slower runner.
Okay.
I love running, and I when you tell someone you do a marathon, they automatically think that you're an elite runner. I am nowhere close to winning those marathons, all right? I am the bottom half of those people finishing it, but I do it because I love the challenge of it. I love just the energy that you can put into training your body to do something, and it doesn't matter what kind of pace you go at, and I really try to communicate that at the run club, that it doesn't matter how fast or slow you go, as long as you're just showing up for yourself and having fun doing it. That's all we really try and do at the run club. Just every Saturday, have fun, get out there, get some movement in.
I love that you've created such a movement with it that led you to being nominated for a YWCA award.
Yeah.
And so how does it feel for you, one, to have received that nomination and to know that this thing that you started off, I just want people to participate in this activity with me, has become a cultural shift?
Honestly, it's a big honor to get that nomination. When I organize these runs, I don't really think of them as anything more than just getting a group together, but I do love the fact that it has taken more of a stance in the society. Like, our community is finding a place where we can kind of get together and do something. So I love that I have been able to become that person that is creating a space for people to feel comfortable. It's definitely great to be recognized for it, and I honestly, the biggest part of the recognition that I love is that it's more eyes on the run club. So people who have never heard of it, now through this network of the YWCA, it's becoming more commonplace to talk about run clubs. People are knowing that my little Mile One Run Club exists, and they can come if they want to and try something new. I think that's my most common question when I get messages on run clubs, Instagram or emails or anything like that is, how do I join? Is there any experience that I need? Do I need to be prepared? Should I do a couple runs before I go out? I'm just saying, no, I am so glad to come as you are. You are accepted regardless, and I love that people have just heard about it through these types of recognition. So it's such an honor, but I love that it's more than me that gets impacted.
See, I love that about you, and just like the vibe you give off and how welcoming you are about the space that you're offering up to people. With that in mind, it's Black History Month.
Yes.
And so for you, as a young Black woman who's grown up in this space, what does it mean for you to exist as Black in Newfoundland and Labrador?
That is a big question. Being Black in Newfoundland is definitely something that can be tough, but it also can be really great. I think when I grew up, I was always the only Black or brown person in my class for most of my grades until I got to junior high and high school, and then maybe there was one other person that was a minority in my group. And obviously you deal with a lot of microaggressions, like comments about your hair, your culture, who you are, what are you, a lot of that type of things that can be really challenging to navigate, especially honestly pre-2020 when no one had any sort of boundary, and there still aren't really a lot of boundaries for some people, but the idea that you have to kind of be uncomfortable with questions about yourself rather than acknowledge that it's inappropriate things to say, and then you make other people uncomfortable. It's definitely a tricky place to grow up, but I think it gives me such an opportunity to be an educator for people, and it gives me a great opportunity to bring more awareness to Black voices in this province, because there are. I know it's predominantly a white province, but there are so many other minorities that exist here, and I love that in like my abilities to start a run club or do whatever I can connect with those groups of people, not just Black folks, but any sort of minority in this province, and say, this is a space for you to come, we exist, and then also it's creating a space for minorities, but then also people who are white can understand that Black people exist here, and then also you can integrate so much more. So it's definitely, it's a good and it's a great place to live as a Black person, and my experience has been really positive, but I think I've taken learnings from those experiences that have been kind of negative sometimes growing up to kind of make it a little bit of a better place for everyone.
And so as someone who has grown up in this province, what advice would you have for Black youth who are either born here and growing up here, or who have recently moved here and are struggling to find their footing and where they belong and how they make space for themselves?
It can definitely be a challenge. Even as someone that's grown up here, sometimes it's tough to really navigate with my own friends that I'm the only Black one, and then trying to say what that means for me and what that means for them. But for any younger kids that have growing up here or just come here, I would definitely tell them to take any opportunity they can to kind of get out in the community. This community, for the most part, is very accepting. I know ignorance exists no matter where you are, but there are so many open and welcoming folks that are out there, and there are a lot of resources for people that are newer to the province. So look for them. I know my run club is one that is super welcoming, and we are always looking for new people to join us. But definitely don't be afraid to get out there. I know it can be isolating, and having to push yourself out of your comfort zone is never an easy thing for anyone. But there are people there to support you, and you're never alone. I want people to know that for sure, that they're never alone.
And as you think of Black History Month as this ever-evolving thing, I know for me it has evolved, especially from like moving from Nigeria to Canada and realizing what it means to be Black in a predominantly white space. Black history is constantly being made. So when you think of Black history, what does it mean for you now? What did it mean for you before? And what do you see as the future of Black history?
I think when I was a kid, I would only really hear Black history from my dad when he's talking about his family. That honestly is from Nova Scotia, so I have a big group of my family lives there, and just talking about people that were his idols growing up, and it was really from the context of a historical perspective. So thinking about where we come from, our ancestors, Black people that have shaped how we live. That's how I used to think of it, and that's how I still do to an extent, but I really like the shift that has kind of come for Black History Month to celebrate current voices and celebrate Black people that are doing a lot in our communities around the world. And I think that is such a cool opportunity for us, for anyone, to really think about the Black people that surround you, and then also the impact that Black people are having. And it's just a great opportunity to celebrate what is currently being done, not just from a historical context.
And so there's a saying that I like that's been going out a lot more recently, saying that Black History Month is not just for Black people. And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, I think that it might even be just as important, if not more important, for people that are not Black to learn about how Black voices have shaped our world. I think it's such a cool opportunity in a place like Newfoundland that's predominantly white, for white people to really take a little, I guess it's initiative, but even just the opportunity to learn about the Black people that are living in their province, maybe make some connections, learn about what's happened in Canada. I think it's a really cool place that can happen. And I know there is sometimes I think people look to Black people to be the educators and say, they ask you questions based on, okay, well, you're gonna have the answers. Rather than me doing my research, I'm just gonna ask you as a default. I don't think it's necessarily negative to inquire about a Black person's experience, but I think it's such a cool opportunity for non-Black folks to really do their own research and really kind of get more involved in the Black community. And there's so many opportunities to do so, I think, if they start looking for them. So it's definitely not just for Black people, and I think it's so important that white people take that chance to learn.
Angelise, I could talk to you all day, whether it's about running or about your experiences here.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for taking the time to share with me.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
And we'll be right back, everyone. I want to thank all of you for tuning in yet again. It's always a pleasure getting to share time and space with you. I want to give a very special thank you to my guests for joining me. Thank you to Jumi for talking about the importance of mental health and advocacy and breaking that stigma regardless of your racial identity, because knowing your mental health is important. I also want to thank Angelise for talking to us about how Mile One Run Club came to be, what's important for her as a young Black woman within the province. And if you're interested in joining Mile One Run Club, make sure to check them out on social media. It doesn't matter how fast you run or how well you run, it's just important that you get out there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you again next time.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
We want to hear from you. Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Call, email us, or scan the QR code to take our quick survey.
Let's go, girls. I feel like a woman.
Howie, let's go. The show's about to start.
Shania Twain joins Canada's Got Talent. New season premieres March 18th on City TV.
Let's go, Canada.
My name is Chase Nicholas. I am a Mi'kmaq hockey player. Growing up, I always remember my family talking about the Mi'kmaq as the creators of the game of hockey. In grade 7, I did research on Mi'kmaq hockey sticks as the first sticks of the NHL. I found a Mi'kmaq hockey stick made in 1917, the same year the NHL was formed. I was surprised to find out the very stick I was holding was made by my great-great-grandfather, Alexander Cope. In 1934, an elder known as Old Joe Cope wrote a letter to the Halifax Herald claiming the Mi'kmaq created hockey. I found out later that I am a direct descendant of Old Joe Cope. There was a time when Mi'kmaq children were torn from their families and not allowed to speak their language, losing their words and stories. But the stories are coming back to us. Stepping on the ice, I take pride knowing the roots of the game of hockey stem from my ancestors in the Mi'kmaq Nation.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned.